everyone. Thank you so much for being patient. We are here at Time for Tea, like official style. So I'm so excited to be doing this. I'm Tracy. I'm the founder of Time for Tea, and welcome to my living room.
My name is Ursula James. I am with Time for Tea as well, the public relations manager.
My name is Arlene Blake. I am the founder of a nonprofit women's empowerment organization called Women on the Rise International Incorporated.
I'm Natalie Citarelli. I am the broker owner of Citarelli Realty Group, and I also own part owner in Encompass Mortgage.
Renita Hunt, president of Dress for Success, and also nonprofit marketing consultant with socialneeded.com.
I'm Deandra Brown. I'm the Central Florida Nike recruiter. I also work for Time for Tea, or work with Time for Tea.
My name is Vanessa Zabala, and I have a consulting company that helps use lean and innovation tools to figure out what problems you're really solving and how to increase your revenue, or to understand how you can leverage what you already have.
If you are new to the Time for Tea platform, it is a diverse group of women that come together kind of on a quarterly basis. Tracy Phipps hosts Time for Teas in Orlando, Florida, and it's women coming together to talk, empower, and affirm one another. And it's also to really just empower and gather diverse group of women. So tonight we are serving confidence with a cup of tea, and we're so glad that you are a part of this conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to start by looking back to move forward. I want to start by just asking you guys, tell me about your history, tell me about something in your past, any challenge that you might have faced encountering yourself in your career or just in your personal life or anything like that. Just what are some challenges that you might have faced specifically being a woman? And it doesn't need to be in the workplace, it could just be in your profession or your career or anything like that. So I'm going to start with
Well, I remember when I graduated from UCF and I started working for a law firm here in Winter Park. And I remember I was part of the hiring process for any new staff that was coming on. And we had all male partners of that law firm. And when we were choosing staff, they would actually look at the age of that person to decide, okay, I think she's at the stage where she might be thinking about getting married and having a child. Wow. And I think if she's at that age, she may not be a reliable staff person. And they literally were having those kind of conversations. And I was terrified at the idea of, will I not have a job if I come to that point to where I start thinking about having children? And so we sometimes do not have an ear as to what's going on behind closed doors when there's those decisions being made. And I shared this conversation with another representative of another organization that was mainly males, and they said that they were hearing the same thing in those boardrooms where we're not a part of to help make those kind of decisions.
I think those decisions are being made out of bad intent, or do you think it's just ignorance? Like
it's ignorance. It's ignorance. I think many of us are showing now all that we are able and capable of doing, being women who have children. You know, myself, for instance, I'm a single mom with a 3-year-old child, and I make ish happen, right? You know? So, and people oftentimes like, how are you able to do all of that? Well, it's what I want to do, so I'm going to make it happen. Or it's what I have to do, so I'm going to make it happen. And I don't need someone else making a decision as to what I'm capable of, because only I know that.
My recent experience, basically I wanted to buy a supercar. So I started looking at Lamborghinis, McLarens, and everything. And I ran into an issue where I wanted to get financed, and I showed them I made good money, I had a lot of money down. And they actually like looked me up on Instagram and Facebook because they asked if I was buying the car, or if my boyfriend was buying the car, like as if a male was buying the car and a woman wouldn't have bought the car. They literally, because I was a woman and it was not known for a woman to buy a supercar, they were looking at it like there was something like hidden behind it, or that I really wasn't going to buy the car. Or as I'm driving, it'll be like, you know, let's just say I'm with my fiance, they'll look at him and say, oh, nice car. Does he make this car payment? I'm curious. You know, so but I started realizing, like, oh, you just assume. Even I put purple all on it, that wasn't enough. So that's been my recent thing. But as far as like, since 18, I've always been an entrepreneur, and I didn't have that, but that made me realize, oh, I see, okay.
And I think that's a really great example of just, without even the workplace, but just you walking into a deal, like a business deal or a transaction, and for someone to look you up and down, just the fact that they went into your social media and like tried to dig up to really figure out. I mean, I tell the girls, I mentor young girls all the time, and I tell them, do you think you're going to get judged? And they all say yes. I'm like, thank you. You are going to get judged, but whether you get judged in a positive or a negative way is 100% up to you and how you carry yourself.
I remember starting out, I've always been an overachiever. I've always been that leader. They probably called me bossy growing up. So when I got into the workplace, it was, yeah, that's a good idea, but be quiet. My boss at the time said, you're not ready for that. You know, you're only 20, you know, don't be striving for a management position. And so not having the right mentorship to say, no, you need to go for that. This is the way you go about that. And so always make myself available for women to do just that. Because if you're 18 or you're 68, you can still achieve your goals, and you need to do that. Also making sure you know who you are, right? And so sometimes we're so busy, somebody told me to go to college, and somebody told me to do this, so I did that. But maybe you didn't want to go to college. Maybe you wanted to be a blogger. Go and blog. Find out what are you really good at and what you should lean on in life. And those things that are challenging and weaknesses to you, let those things fall off. You know, and being really clear about that, because sometimes we waste a lot of time in the weakness and the challenging area, and we could have just moved on and been soaring. But all of that also goes back to having mentorship. Because the women right here, we can all say, we've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. You don't need to do that.
Working at Nike, some would think is a male-dominated sports, and you got to work out and all those kind of things, right? But if people have known me post-college, I was a collegiate athlete, right? I played Division I college basketball. I loved doing things that boys or men do to prove that girls do it 10 times better. So I played the drums since I was 8. I played the bass guitar. Like, I was that girl, right? I remember going to my leader at the time, who was an African-American male, and I said to him, you know, I have this idea about like local recruiters, right? There's territory recruiters, but there's nobody locally. And I see that this is a need. We keep losing people. I've done exit interviews. Like, I took the time to make sure that there was processes in place, there's data, right? Because when you step into a room, you already have 10 things wrong, right? You're a woman, you're young, you're this, you're ethnic, you're pregnant, you're all of these things, right? So I had to make sure, line upon line, precept upon precept, I had all my ducks in a row, that there would be no reason that he could tell me no. So I pitched this idea to him about this role, this local recruiter role that had never been done before in Nike. And I remember he said to me, I get it, I see everything that you've done, the data that you've collected, but I just want to let you know you've got 2 strikes against you. You're black and you're a woman. And it seems like the role that you're creating is a corporate role. And I would get to corporate before you. I took a deep breath, and I said out loud to him, as I'm thinking about what my response is going to be, I said, you know, I have 2 ways that I can respond. I can either call HR, right? That's the easy thing. Or I can take the time to have a really courageous conversation with you. And that's what I'm going to do. I said, you know, you have a daughter, right? And he just looked at me. Yeah? I said, okay. Your daughter one day will grow up and be in a workplace and say the same conversation, have the same words with her boss. What would you tell her to say? What would you tell her to do? And he just kind of was quiet and sat back in his seat like, hold up. Now you're talking about my baby. And so I said, thank you for your concern or your feedback. Watch me get this job. Stepped into this role. There's 22 of us across North America for Nike, and I'm one of them. So I came back in, and now I became his boss. Fresh on maternity leave, right? Being unapologetically powerful is what it takes to be a woman, right? It's not just about your education. It's not just about that. It's about, do you know who you are? Do you know the power that you possess? As women, we have the ability to create life
I'm creating another little powerful woman inside of me right now. So just knowing that I have the ability to literally breathe and give life into this world, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me I can't get a job. A job? We're talking about a job. Like, stop it. I make humans while I sleep.
My culture is Latin, Venezuelan. And my background is in international economic development. I got my master's from the London School of Economics. I've lived in 5 different countries around the world and that kind of thing. And so I'm like, I think I know what I'm talking about. To watch sometimes, like, we lay out an argument, it's like, no, because I saw in the news. I'm like, so I did a project and a 30-page research paper and a presentation for the company that's actually on the news. So, but you watched the headline, that was an opinion. Got it. The workplace, honestly, I haven't experienced it as much, or it felt as like it's been because of a woman thing, felt more because of my age. And I think the lack of just ambassadors internally, because especially when you're driven and you're type A and all of that, you're very young, but then you have all these things that you want to push forward, and then they tell you, for later, maybe. It's like, remember my title, not yours. So I think it's more of like understanding how to navigate that as a woman, as a man, as a LGBTQ person, or whatever it may be, but just how do you how do you propose something? Are you actually being too pushy? Because sometimes you may be, and being like, hey, you've been here for 2 months, chill out. Like, you actually don't know exactly what's going on. So I think it's also a conversation of just like, what kind of strategies are actually being put in place, and is there a culture within the company to address those kinds of frictions with somebody has been there 15, 10, 5 years versus somebody that's been there for a couple of months, which is a very different kind of situation.
To me, what I grouped from all of that is the mentorship, the making sure that, you don't give them a reason to not allow you to be your best self at work. And I can relate to that as well, just working in a male-dominated industry in higher education. A lot of the executives and a lot of the leadership are males. And my dad, being in leadership as a retired principal, always taught me, don't allow them to not give you a reason to be in the room. So as a young professional, always having to go the extra mile, regardless of what you have going on outside of the workplace. When you get to the workplace, leave that there and put everything on the table, give it your best every single day.
And so studies show that an equal percentage of men and women start their careers not managing people. By mid-career, so this is between 30s to 44, 47% of men become managers or higher, while only 40% of women reach the next level. And then by late career, 45 and over, 57% of men become managers or higher, while only 41% of women become higher. And then very few women actually make it to C-suite. So by the late career, which is after 45 years old, 8% of men in the workforce become executive level positions, while only 3% of women make it. And within that 3%, the amount of women that are minority is under 1%.
Absolutely.
Like as a whole, holistically. There tends to be issues where women don't advance as quickly. So it's not so much later in your career, it's more earlier in your career. And what happens when we're 20 and 29? We all start having kids, we get married. Studies show that women take more time off than men because of having children, because of women tend to be nurturers. So if a family member gets sick, the woman goes and takes care of the family member, it's not the male. So I think there's just a lot of data and statistics around that supports, for anyone that's thinking like that this doesn't exist and this is something made up. No, it's real.
It's real.
This is a statement. So feminism isn't about making a woman stronger, because women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives your strength. How do we change the perspective in the world to see some of the things that might stop us from advancing as actually an opportunity or something that we bring to the table?
Showing up, if it's natural hair, if it's red hair, I've had that too. A bright lip, whatever it is, show up that way every day and own it. And then come with, like you said, the data and say, boom, boom, boom. So then those things of my hair, my lip, my makeup, what I have on, all of those things are irrelevant because you need me to bring the money in.
Yes. I came across this quote the other day on social media, and it said, "We're so busy doubting ourselves while they are afraid of our potential."
Yeah.
And it made me realize, especially being a mother to 2 young girls, that it starts at home. Like, instead of me preparing her for how to be the best woman or how to look pretty or how to, let me educate her about what it takes to work. Let me educate you about what it takes to be a boss. Let me transition the conversation from, this is how you sit when you're around men and you cross your legs. Let me transition down to saying, baby, if you want to sit like this and you want to own and you want to talk with your fingers, then that's who you are. And you be all of that.
It's funny because some people love that you're a successful woman, and others then you find that they're intimidated and a little bit jealous, and you're just like, where's the happy medium? But then it's like they go with the women who, that are, they're like, okay, stay home, cook and clean, who really I find when I speak to them, they want more than that for themselves, and they really don't know how to come out of that, and then the man goes and leaves them, and they're stuck waiting for alimony and child support and deciding what they want to do at the age of 40 or 50 years old.
Having been in Orlando now for 4 years and having been around different communities, very integrated into innovation, entrepreneurship, and like some women's resources and all of that, really disappointed in the segregation that there is between the races, between the ages. Yes, we have everything here in Orlando, and nothing is mixing.
Yeah.
A bit on the outside, so I'm just saying this as an observation purely. I understand like some organizations have dramas because whenever you have humans, you have drama, and like politics come into play and all of these things. But then I look at all of these resources and incredible things that people are pushing forward and all of that, and I'm like, what are we trying to achieve? What problem are we solving? Are we talking about the different stories and experiences that a white woman has, that a Latin woman has, and that an African American woman has? Because if we don't agree with that, then how do we even move forward?
And one of the great needs right now is mentorship. So you'll find that individuals who are coming out of college or are in college, just because of the programs that are already prepared, have some level of mentorship that is provided. But then you have that woman who is 35, 40, who's looking to make a transition, and she has no one to coach her as to what to do. And the issue that comes down with that too, and I especially see it within the Orlando community, is people being willing to pay for having stuff like that that's available. Because even as a person who produces events, I produce an event that truly should have a higher ticket price based off of all that's put into it to try to make it extremely affordable to where the profit isn't even there. And it's the purpose of trying to provide that level of content. But when it comes to that individual investment, you don't see as many people investing that time into
because they don't see it's almost like you have to teach people the value in themselves to learn from the value of that.
And a lot of people don't have it.
If you have to take $20, 20 that's Starbucks,
Set of nails.
and a half about a pinky of a nail, you can start to build that fund. So you say $500 a year. I'm going to go to Women on the Rise. I'm going to go to Time for Tea. I'm going to go to Hats Off for Success. I'm going to go to all these little events. And as I start to put these building blocks together, I start to build a tribe. All of a sudden, and it didn't cost $1,000. All it takes is $500, and you could go to probably 4 events, and make a huge impact.
A lot of people are asking for things, but they're not willing to invest in anything. Like even if you're asking for a mentor, what are you providing back to that mentor, right? So when I came to a mentor and wanted to have some conversation, I was like, okay, I really want to learn from you. I appreciate A, B, and C of what you're doing. I don't want to take up all of your time. This is exactly what I need. And I put together an agreement. Like I will make sure that every week that we meet, I'm bringing this, so I'm not wasting your time. And then I know that you do this, maybe I can help you in this way, right? Putting in that time and effort to do that. And a lot of people don't. They just take. They just take. It's not a mentorship.
I think that in every moment there's a chance to educate not only a man sitting across from you, but to also educate that woman who doesn't look like you. So I think that the biggest thing that I like to leave you with, again, is know who you are so nobody can't tell you who you're not.
Everyone in this world is needed somewhere, and then be relentless. If you feel that you want to do something, don't let anything stop you. And my biggest thing is standing out. I am a big believer that be different, stand out, and show how you're different, because I think difference is what makes somebody like, wow.
Take the time to get out of your own head and to make a decision based on the actual facts that are there in front of you, as opposed to making up all of these thoughts and ideas, because oftentimes we get into our own heads and we can't make the right decisions on things that are in our life, and it holds us back from ever really moving forward on our goals, and 5 years later you're not in the place that you wanted to be because you couldn't get out of your head 5 years ago.
This is so great. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope our listeners took something great away. I mean, there were so many nuggets that were dropped, jewels, nuggets, all types of chicken nuggets. So I want to leave you guys with just also some final words. If I had to add to like everything that you guys all very beautifully said, it would be a message to the men that are listening, and also to the women, but more to the men is, if you are a male and you have a daughter, if you have a wife, if you have a mother, if you have a grandmother, whatever it is, really honor them. Praise them in public, lift them up, celebrate them, even for the smallest thing. I think part of changing the narrative around women and what we bring to the table is having more people that celebrate the goodness that we bring forth. Then we don't need more women against us. We need men and women to also to contribute and to help us to grow and really to make us feel comfortable. So anyway, that's what Time for Tea is all about. Talk, empowerment, and affirmation, and we are here to celebrate each other, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Each for equal.